Hello and welcome to Build Society. It's certainly been a while since I posted last. I've been busy working on a few other things and I've just moved back to Canada. Before I left, I recorded a bunch of footage of us using stick frame construction to build components, and I'll talk a little bit about what that is, but I mainly want to share why I think prefab stick framing should be more popular, especially right now in Canada. I'm going to talk while the camera rolls, so feel free just to listen if you want. So stick framing or platform framing is the most conventional form of wood construction, and it uses your typical dimension lumber and engineered wood products. Most homes in Canada are built all on site this way. It's a convenient method because a crew of 4 or 5 with a couple of half-ton pickups, a utility trailer, and some tools can put together a few homes a year, which is exactly how I started in the trade. And it's been around for decades, so our residential construction system is mostly based on stick framing. One downside to building an entire house on site this way is the structural material is exposed to weather. It's rarely detrimental to the integrity of the building, but it can cause issues further into the build, as wood is sensitive to temperature and moisture variations. The weather can affect other materials. For example, I worked on a project several years ago west of Ottawa, which had been started a bit late in the year. And one morning we walked into the house with 5 centimeters of water everywhere. The moisture and humidity levels took a long time to level off, which made it tough to insulate because frost kept building up on the insulation. So building in a shop eliminates this issue because components and materials are kept inside in a warm and dry factory, and then they get wrapped up. This helps to deliver a higher quality and more energy efficient home. And I'll use mineral insulation as an example as it's the most used. Insulation can be installed better and in more places than in a typical site-built home, which is a big deal as energy conservation is such an important issue nowadays. Usually when a house is stick framed on site, insulation can only be installed once the entire building is sheathed. This means the insulation is only accessible from the inside, and it's very hard to ensure the insulation is properly filling the entire wall cavity. Prefab solves this issue because access can be had from both sides of the wall, and it allows insulation to be placed between laminated framing members. It's a more textbook process in reducing thermal bridging and dead space. Now, one could argue that prefab requires too much overhead and initial investment. This is certainly a concern if demand is low, but right now Canada is facing a major housing crisis with extremely high demand and low supply, so whatever resources are needed for setting up a prefab system will be regained through better production times and scalability. Shop production is not restricted to the hours of daylight. Like RP-Karmi here runs 2 8-hour shifts in the shop every day, while the install and completion crews work within normal hours. This means components and foundations for the next project can be built while assembled homes are being finished. Assembly can be done within a few days, so in turn, this is a faster process. It's quite straightforward from a logistics standpoint. This is different from modular construction, so most components or packs of components don't take up as much space, so they can be transported as regular size loads. I know that affordability is a big topic within the Canadian housing discussion, and it's only fair to acknowledge that pretty much every current method of construction is going to be expensive. I think any form of prefab construction, however, offers greater efficiency, which could result in lower construction costs over the long term. The thing about prefab stick construction is that it's not a major step away from how Canadians typically build homes right now. It's pretty much the same, except most of the work is done in a factory setting. So this means there is no extensive training required for carpenters and builders to transition, and it makes for a much easier, more organized, and safe working experience. Now, I'm no expert on housing economics, and I realize that there are other details to be considered, but it makes sense that Faster production times and greater volume helps to decrease the overall cost of construction, and the average cost of a home will decrease by putting more homes on the market. We need more homes ASAP, and prefab stick construction is one efficient solution. That's all I have for now. Thanks for watching and listening. And if you're in Canada and are interested to carry on the conversation to promote great building practices like I am, comment below or check out the description to connect with me on LinkedIn. Cheers.